and we are meeting at a time when the entire country and the entire globe is facing another wave of COVID-19. And we have become so used to this pandemic that now, it's like, okay, there is COVID, but kaam chalte rehta hai. So I'm guessing that everyone has been busy with their own work and everything. And hope you had a good start to the new year 2022. So a very happy new year to all of you. And welcome to this final workshop of our Youth and Water Engagement series. It's been a long time now, I guess almost 6 months. Actually, the discussion started long back, almost 8-9 months ago, where we thought that there's something we need to do. And can we bring together youths from Assam, different parts of Assam, and can we, build their capacity, by capacity, their knowledge and skill around water, their understanding of water, water management, and most importantly, water governance, and how can we involve them in it. I am Manisha. I represent Global Shapers Guwahati Hub, which itself is a youth group, and it is a representative group of the Global Shapers community, which is a part of the World Economic Forum. By profession, I am a healthcare professional and I'm part of Piramal Swast. So we are also a team of youth, and we thought that this is a very good opportunity to collaborate with Aaranyak and to drive this entire program. Thanks to our very enthusiastic participants who have been with us through this entire 6 months journey. And we have had some really, really interesting sessions of 2 hours, even stretching for 2.5 and 3 hours. And believe me, in a Zoom session, it's not easy to have such a long stretch of workshops, but thanks to our participants and our facilitators and our resource persons who have been so interactive and so excellent in what they have brought to this particular program. So just to give an overview to our guests who are part of today's discussion about this entire program, we have had 5 webinars so far, 5 workshops that have touched upon different aspects of, first, understanding what is water, why water, building that relationship of ours with water. How do we see a water body, the local water source? So that's something we started off with, and then we went on to understanding the different anthropogenic factors that is affecting the quality and the quantity of water and how is it impacting. Once we understood that, we then went on to understand how can youth actually step up, and what is it that they can do, and what are the available platforms. So for that, we had members joining from Global Water Partnerships, from India Water Partnerships, as well as Global Shapers Guwahati Hub, and we were brainstorming how is it that we can work on water management and water governance. Then we went on to understand one very pertinent problem, which is very, very significant to Assam, which is the groundwater problem and the associated determinants of groundwater issue and its impact, not just on the environment, but also on our overall health. And we had an excellent session that not just talked about the challenges part of it, but it also talked about the solutions that span from different, policy level solutions to aquifer mapping and how we can go about doing that. Then we went to a skill-based session for our young participants, which was around GIS mapping, which is so critical a skill for any person working in water governance. And we had 2 resource persons who talked about what are the different softwares that can be used, what is the utility of GIS mapping within this entire domain. So with this combination of skill session, technical session, and also some brainstorming session, our workshops have included not just lecture sessions, but also understanding participants' perspectives, what they think, their questions. So we have at least attempted to do, build an interactive workshop series for them. Today we have our final workshop. This workshop will actually answer the main question that we kind of started off with, and that is, what is water governance? Because we have been talking about it since day 1, And I remember Parthoda saying that, listen, we are not going to tell them what water governance is. This is for the last session. And today, finally, that session is here. And I'm so happy and I'm so glad to have with us two very, very distinguished guests with us. Let me introduce you to Dr. P.P. Sankakoti, sir. Uh, Sir needs no introduction. He was earlier the mission director at the Assam Water Mission. From 2017 to 2018, he held many prestigious positions at the government of Assam Water Resource Department. He's a BTech from Punjab Agricultural University, did his MTech in water resources from IIT Roorkee, was a scientist in IIT Roorkee and an associated professor as well. He has headed several important profiles to name, such as head of the Assam Water Research and Management Institute. He's also the member of steering committee of Center for Brahmaputra Studies in Guwahati University. Sir, most welcome to you and thank you so much for gracing this occasion. We also have with us Dr. Anup Kumar Mitra. He was former Secretary Water Resources Government of Assam. He's a well-known engineer, scientist, and a technocrat in the field of water science in India. About 5 decades of experience in different facets of water resource management. His core area of expertise is flood and erosion management, which is the problem that we are faced with, and I'm so looking forward to actually listening to you. He was also the former chairman and national council member of Institution of Engineers and associated with a number of international and national professional bodies. Welcome to both of you. And of course, we have with us Dr. Pathajyoti Das, the sutradhar of this entire workshop series. He needs no introduction. So without much ado, I would hand over to Parthoda for today's very important session. I would request all our participants to, yes, you will be actively part of it, but like all workshop series that we are also going to have an open discussion. Please keep your pen and paper ready. Bring in your questions. Today is the opportunity to ask those questions, to also share your journey so far. What have you learned? What has stayed with you? And most importantly, how do you take these learnings back to action in your own? So over to you, Parthoda.
Thank you. Thanks, Manisha. Thanks. Everybody can hear me now. Manisha, all of you can hear me?
We can hear you, Parthoda.
Yeah. So thank you for a very, very nice, overview of the entire journey of us, the organizers, with the youth downstream of Brahmaputra and Barak and all rivers. The journey along rivers with water, on water, So, well, yes, today definitely we will be focusing more on governance and policy. I wish I could have lingered it a little bit longer, because there are many other issues that we wish we could have covered in this series. But then for various reasons, we had to bring it to an end, because we would now, in the next step, look back and see how it was for us and for our students. We'll get their feedback very soon. And then we will, design a fresh new initiative, another journey, and about which we are not very sure. We will decide based on the experience of this entire initiative. So today we will be mainly covering governance and policy context within the geography of Assam, which will be mainly contextualized for Assam. But let me tell you, we will keep it very, very basic, because our main target group is a group of young people, and we have been carefully exposing them to various very, very basic issues of water, and therefore we want to we don't want to make things very complex for them actually, but it's then not very easy also keep things simple when you talk about technicalities of governance and policy. But let's see how we fare in this entire thing. Now, as Manisha has already, given in her overview, so we had some thematic webinars in the past session. And additionally, we also organized one special webinar on gender and water, which of course officially is not in this series because that was open for youth as well as for various other stakeholders. But that aspect is also important for all of you to know, because that's now, gender now comprises a very, very important aspect of water management and policy. And therefore, let me tell you that we have covered that too. So, starting with, uh, let me take you back to some of these diagrams that I used in the very opening presentation that I delivered in last September. So here, just to refresh the memory of our young participants and everybody here, so we are looking, and we must look water at with a holistic view. That means water for us means surface water, groundwater, and atmospheric water, right? In this series, we have already had some good idea about both surface water and groundwater. And of course, atmospheric water, little bit technicalities, rainfall and snowfall and all that, that for various reasons, we kept it out of the scope, but definitely, it definitely a part of the very core of, water governance and management when it comes to, governance. We emphasize on an integrated understanding because we need to manage water sustainably. So our objective is integrated understanding, and based on that to go towards sustainable management. And therefore, for us, in a very, 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 very simple sense, what water means is, what we see in front of our eyes, all surface water reservoirs like rivers, wetlands, groundwater reservoirs, aquifer, subsurface reservoirs, spring, atmospheric water, rainfall, hail, snow, dew, fog. Now, it's important. If you have actually seen how Shillong was whitewashed yesterday with a very unusual bout of, hailstorm, which many people are also, referring as a, a very welcome kind of, snowfall. This is not absolutely, technically snowfall, but these are new developments, where the people have not seen this for quite a long time in Shillong. And I think now, these things are becoming new normal for various reasons. And therefore, when we look into water, uh, we have to bring in various perspectives, and these perspectives have been discussed more or less during the last webinars. For example, we started with emphasizing on valuing water and its and ecological services, and we also underlined the importance of sustainable use of our finite water resources, and on achieving sustainability of the water sources, which is very important. Source sustainability is now very important. We discussed about various threats and challenges to the water sources in both quantity and quality perspectives. And we recognize that human outlook is very, very important, because it is mostly the human activities, the anthropogenic impact, that is actually posing most of the threats. And then we learned actually, that our water footprint is a big determinant about the health of our environment and ecosystem. And finally, to have our water sources intact, to take care of the quality of water, the quantity of water, their equitable distribution, and inclusive water-based livelihood and growth, finally we have to look towards our governance and management system, and that's where we are now. So the basic uh, perception based on which the entire gamut of management and governance initiatives and the whole mechanism starts is with the fact that water is a scarce resource. And for many people, it's still not clear. I mean, to some people, it's very, very difficult even now to convince them that water is a scarce resource, especially in a region like Northeast India, where there's a lot of rainfall, a lot of rivers, a lot of water all around. And therefore, the public perception is that, at least in our region, water is an infinite resource. There's water everywhere. But no, that's not true scientifically. That's what we see is only a seasonal abundance. And if we look around, we will have more and more evidences, more and more observations, which should tell us that a lot of water scarcity situations are looming large on the entire northeastern region. So in same thing in case of Assam also. Hidden under the so-called abundance of water, there are many pockets of water scarcity, there are many water deficit, small areas, small pockets, which have their own problems, which are very, very less reported. People don't know much about that. Those areas, policymakers are not very aware about their problems, and therefore they not much is taken care of about them in our existing governance system. And this, as I said, this is a seasonal abundance, and this is also a kind of geographical inequality. Unfortunately, monsoons are geographically distributed, and they're unequal. Some regions get a lot of rainfall, some regions do not. Same thing happens, that's the case with Northeast India. It gets a lot of rainfall compared to many other regions of India. But within Northeast India, there are many areas which, even for geographical regions lying in rain shadow areas, they are historically deprived of rainfall. So those are these are endemic problems. So therefore, the point I want to make is that it is not the right concept or right perception to think about the entire region or Assam is a rain plus or rain surplus or rain abundant kind of region, which I say, yes, a lot of rainfall, a lot of water is there, but for some time only, not for the entire year. And therefore, we live with a too little and too much kind of situation throughout the year. When we have too much, we don't know what to do. And that becomes disastrous for us. When we do not have, and we don't know actually how to harvest that part, how to take care of our drought situations. And we are now having, you must be aware that many new areas are coming under the grip of drought-like situation, which is completely a new phenomenon. And therefore, water must be managed properly for human and environmental well-being. And therefore, water governance. And therefore, we have to think about how to manage water. And when we want to manage water, keeping with some principles, some ethics like equity, sustainability, giving equal access to everybody, keeping in with the constitutional provisions that gives everybody a right to life and therefore a right to water. We need a governance system. And what is that governance system? From the outer loop, we can imagine a water governance system to be constituting of three different pillars. One is the legislation or the laws and acts and the rules and sub-rules and a plethora of other, rules, regulations, and a lot of other, legal instruments. Second is the institutions, and third is policy. So just to trigger some kind of thinking so that we understand the concept of governance from a bottom-up approach. I mean, rather than defining something, if we can think of governance, I mean, I thought that, if we ask some very critical questions like these, then the information that we get will give us a sense of, kind of system that exists and that probably can be referred to as water governance. For example, we can ask in any situation which in relation to water, we can ask in any situation to anybody in irrespective of geography or irrespective of the social and economic and other inequality, whatever situation we are. We can ask who gets water, who are the people who are getting water, who are getting more, who are getting less. How much water are we getting or are they getting? How is water made available to those who need it? Who are the people who need water more, who need water less, or who need water most? What quality of water is being delivered to people? What quality of water I am getting? What quality of water you are getting, or he is getting, or she is getting? Is it same or is it different? Where is more water concentrating? Where people are getting more water, where people are getting less water, where are people getting water, and when are people getting water at the time of their need? At what price or cost are people getting water? What are one's right to get water and its beneficial services? Do we have a right to water? Is it our right? Can we exert our right? If we are deprived of water, can we exert our right? Is it legal to exert our right? Right? Who governs water? Who takes decision about water? Who manages water? Who are the people? Who are the institution that forms rules and laws of water, allocation of water, distribution of water, providing access to water, differential access to water, more water for somebody, less water for somebody else? Who enforces these rules and laws? Who are these agencies? How can people ensure their legal right to get water, right type of water, right quantity of water, and water-related services from the state or from the local institutions, local governance institutions? Is all water government, owned by government? What is the ownership of water? What is private ownership of water? What is the role of private sector? How does private sector operate in the water sector? What is their role in water service provisioning, which is a very important question in the urban context? Think about Guwahati, what's happening now. So these were, questions that we usually keep asking, or we should ask, although we don't get satisfactory answers in all cases. But if we keep on asking these questions, in a particular situation where there is a problem with water, we get some information, then we can examine that information to know about what kinds of system exist in our state or in our region, in our area, in our country that governs water. Then, Why water governance? Why we need a governance system? Of course, it is very, very obvious. We need political governance for very, very obvious reasons. And for very similar reasons, we need some system to govern water being the most basic element for sustenance of life. There is, but it's for us to understand its nature, its character, its nuances, its structures, its functions, etc. So to ensure sustainable use and management of water resources and related services, that's one of the basic objectives of having a water governance system. You must have a water governance, some kind of a system, means a cluster of, you have a combination of, you should have a combination of institutes, legislations, policies, legislators, executives, like you have in case of, running the political governance of the country, to ensure that water is sustainably used and managed, to ensure sustainability, equity, efficiency in management, in terms of allocation, distribution, pricing, conservation. These are actually ethical principles based on which governance should be conducted. These are universal principles: sustainability, equity, efficiency, transparency, participation, etc. These are very, very, well accepted norms of governance everywhere, not only in case of water, but in case of natural resources as a whole, and even in political governance. But in case of water, the basic tenet is that water is a scarce resource. It's not infinite, and therefore it has to be used very carefully. So it has its allocation, its distribution, its pricing, its conservation, its management, even its wastage has to be done very, very carefully, following very, very definite rules, norms, ethics, and principles. That's what needs to be ensured, and therefore we need water governance, a good water governance system. To strike a balance between uses by socioeconomic systems and ecological system, I hope I don't need to explain this, because this stark inequality between availability of existing water for some agencies, for some purposes, much more in quantity, and very, very less in quantity for some other purposes. We look at most of the projects that deal with water extraction, or you look at water allocation systems for most of the industries, then you will see there's always a conflict between the amount of water being made available to industries versus to agriculture. Agriculture in terms of groundwater versus which is available for human needs, for drinking water. So these sectoral inequities are there, and we need to take care of that. We need proper rules, proper principles to establish some kind of an equity, some kind of an equitable allocation. Then to reduce and resolve conflicts among competing users over rights and positions of scarce water resources. As I was saying, the Constitution of India has granted us a right to life, Article 21, and that has been variously interpreted as also the right to water, because water is the basic element that defines life. So all of us have a right to water. And therefore, there are various rules and regulations that where it is reflected also. But then water needs for various agencies, various groups of people, various industries, various other stakeholders is different. And we all are competing with a finite source for various purposes. And therefore, a natural consequence is conflicts. And therefore, there's no end to the stories of water conflicts in various contexts. We all know about interstate river conflicts. over Kaveri, over Ken Betua, and there are many others, And in Northeast India, for last 20 years, we have been hearing about conflicts emerging out of, construction of big dams, right? And to some extent also over river linking projects. There are a lot of debate over that, but these are all different examples of, conflict situations where the question of, something should be done and something should not be done, right? And fulfilling kind of, interest of certain purpose against the possible detrimental impact on another group of people. So there are many issues which have actually led to conflicting situations, and in a good water governance system, there should be element to resolve these conflicts. So if our water governance system is based on the right kind of principles, and it's conducted by very efficient institutions with appropriate policies, then the possibility of conflicts will reduce. And even there are conflicts, it may be possible to resolve most of them cordially. So therefore, we need a system to govern, to manage, to administer the entire water system. Therefore, we need water governance. And finally, to use water management as a tool for poverty reduction, sustainable development, and well-being of human societies and environment. This is, again, a kind of universal requirement, which is quite in tune with most of the UN goals, including the SDGs, and also most of the development policies in conformity with most of the development policies of Government of India, which talks mainly highlights the most important, or one of the most important development challenges of poverty reduction. So therefore you can see, there are many programs in food for work kind of, programs, the MNREGA and watershed management, right? And there are plethora of government schemes which is related to water, but which are all, targeted to deliver such benefits to the poor and marginalized communities of our society, so that, they can elevate themselves from below the poverty level to above poverty level. That is a very, very common goal of many of our development programs around water. And therefore, this somehow is a repetition. And therefore, to think about what could be the components of water governance. I mean, what are the basic steps? What are the basic processes? If we analyze the governance system that exists in a state, and I hope all of you know that water is a state subject, and therefore there are the way that the state governments manage their water can be different for different states. There are different kind of institutions for taking care of water in different states. Again, central government also has a plethora of institutions and policies, for administering or for the good management of water. So there are many institutions, many policies, right? And we all know that there are conflict because of the very, very basic, federal nature of our, country. The states are hugely empowered in certain cases, central is not. And there are differences in opinion about how a state is probably managing its rivers, its wetlands, its water sources, with the way that the central government is probably, intending to make some kind of laws and policies over those. So in such cases also, sometimes conflicts arise. So therefore, formulation, establishment, and implementation of water policies, legislation, and institution is the basic function of any state government or any central government when it comes to establish a kind of system to manage water. So if we look around, we see that as a country, we have government of India has made many policies around water, many legislations, acts, laws, and many institutions. Government of Assam also has done so. Government of West Bengal, every state government has done so. Then it's important to assign roles and responsibilities of major stakeholders such as government, people, public, community, civil society, non-government agencies, and the private sector in relation to water resources and services. In a proper government system, there are actually policies or rules or some kind of an arrangement where the stakeholder mapping is properly done. Means for each and every typical case of water management, you have to know who are your major or important stakeholders, who are the people who are going to be affected by a certain decision in water management, or who are the people who can influence the government's decision for water management. So definitely, public is a very important, people is a very important stakeholder. Government definitely is, because we are mostly talking about formal water governance, which centers around elected governments, democratically elected governments. Then community, you have to recognize community as an important stakeholder. Many governments do the mistake of not doing so. Civil society is emerging more and more strongly, to exert its right of say, of raising voice in any environmental, ecological, or for that matter, kind of any issue that affects people. So civil society is undeniably a very important stakeholder. NGOs, professional NGOs, service providing NGOs, or maybe non-profit kind of, welfare NGOs, they are also doing a lot of things which affect the water regime, and also, which is related to the way government is conducting its, water governance, because there are many NGOs which work with government, in tune with government, to deliver their services to the people. Then private sector is now a very, very powerful stakeholder. Now, when there are so many stakeholders and multi-stakeholder engagement is important, and therefore, in each and every case of allocation or giving water rights or benefits of water and its associated services has to be done equitably, as far as possible, maintaining equity in keeping with the enshrined principles, or whatever those principles are. You can refer to the Constitution of India, or you can have your own principles for a good water governance. And using the outcome of coordinated water management for solving water related problems, ensuring overall water and environment security and public welfare. This again is a very generic kind of statement, which is the final outcome of why do we need water governance, because the final outcome is to ensure water security, to address all our water problems, and definitely to prioritize addressing the most serious water problems like water crisis is water scarcity, right? But final goal is providing water security to everybody with equity, maintaining the water sources and their sustainability, and again ensuring overall well-being and public welfare, which is a common goal. And therefore, water governance can be thought of having many aspects, but the major aspects that we very frequently confront. So water is not only water, that we understand by now. Water has many, many facets, many, many dimensions. And water means society. Water means people. Water means culture. So water means money. Water means economy. Water also means politics. Water is a very, very political subject. There's can be a lot of so-called politics around water. Lot of power politics plays around water. So water is not only H2O that we need to quench our thirst, or to cook food, or to take bath, or to run an industry. Water is much more than that. So water has a very, very strong political aspect, economic aspect, social, cultural, religious. And now technology. Technology is having a lot of impact on the way we think of water, we manage water. Technology is making it, in certain cases, easier to manage water. In certain cases, again, technology has led to a lot of discrepancies, a lot of inequity in having access to water, or in getting benefits, the right kind of benefits to all kind of stakeholders. And then water footprint on environment is very, very obvious. A lot of environmental health is dependent on the way we use and conduct the water element in the whole biosphere or hydrosphere. And therefore I'm trying to use the more and more kind of these diagrams just to drive home only one point, that water has many, many dimensions, and we have to deal with, take care, think about all these dimensions if we want to make a holistic framework for water management and policy. So the ultimate aim is to have a kind of integrated framework through which we can make good management plans and good policies for water. Unless we do this, we cannot address all the important water related problems through our action plan, through our management plan, or through our policy. Unfortunately, if we look at the past water policies, we will see in many cases a lopsided view of policymakers towards water. They were emphasizing rightly and sometimes overemphasizing certain needs, at the same time entirely ignoring and being oblivious of very, very important other kind of needs. For example, the most neglected need is the ecological need. And that's how ecology has come into conflict with industry versus agriculture versus economy. When it comes to allocating water, we mostly prefer industry. That's our priority. But we hardly think about ecological needs. There is hardly any important, robust kind of laws in our water governance system that ensures enough attention to ecological needs of water. Of course, it has developed, it has improved to some extent now. But if you look at the past policies, you will definitely, see a kind of, lopsided approach. And therefore, I insist that, water is also very intricately related to most of these parameters which define life and people's and societies and environment's well-being. So water is at the center of flora, fauna, biodiversity. So water is the source of irrigation and agriculture. That means our food security. Water provides livelihood. Water facilitates livelihood, various kind of livelihood. So for our, health, nutrition, hygiene, and sanitation, we can't do without enough water, adequate water, and good quality of water we need. Water is a very integral part of our religion and culture throughout the world, but more so probably for the Indian society. Water is one of the oldest transport facilitators throughout civilization. Water drives economy, economy drives water. Right? For many nations, many nations say that their economy is actually water-driven economy. For example, Netherlands, Venice, and all these, there are many European countries which depend a lot on their water resources for their very high GDP. And similarly, ecosystems, climate change is a very, very, recent but very, very pertinent factor that's affecting water, and water is at the core of, climate change. So these are the basic concerns for good water management, or what we call integrated water resources management, IWRM, integrated water resources, which is a globally accepted best practice tool or decision-making tool or water governance tool or water management tool. Now, finally, let's try to define, what we mean by water policy. A water policy is a set of guidelines and directives for harnessing water resources and cater to the sectoral needs of agriculture, industrial, domestic, and ecological. For example, in an equitable way that leads to sustainable development. This is an ideal goal of any water policy. See, traditionally, I have marked the ecological word with green because if you go back to some of the text, you will not see this ecological word, because traditionally, most of the policy definitions and policy literature comes from economists, actually water economists. But now definitely ecology is a highly integrated word. So that's the kind of, objective of any water policy, be it for the country, be it for your state, it may be for your institution, it may be for your corporate or company, anything. Usually a policy statement defines ownership and related rights with regards to its use, incentive and penalty awards towards conservation and deterioration of water resources. Means in a policy later on, after this slide, probably I will give you a live example of what a policy looks like. And then I will go to, what a future policy for Assam should look like, maybe next 5 minutes, and that will be the end of my presentation. But ideally, in a policy, we should include some provisions, some clauses, some kind of statements that define ownership and related rights with regard to its use. We need to give incentive for good water management, and we need to award punishment for bad water management, or deteriorating the state of water, the status of water. Sectors that should be prioritized for allocation. For example, there are many institutions, or there are many cases where, when allocating water, say which is available from a reservoir or from a dam, from a river or from a certain scheme, maximum priority is given to a certain sector. So for some people, industries, the biggest, users of industry is the first need. But ideally, if you look at many other water policies or other policies, naturalist policies of natural resource management, then you will see that ideally it should be the drinking water for human beings. We should get the first priority. And then the ecological need of nature, wildlife, tree, the forests, ecosystem, that should get enough. So the prioritization of the, that you have while making decisions about how much water to be given a particular sector, that's important. Those should be properly spelled out based on different kind of uh, practical needs and principles. So that's what a policy should do. And then there are many other things. So if I can go back, I cannot go back. Something is wrong here. Anyway, so finally, okay, yes. And then conservation. Conservation of water and protection of the water sources, which are a crying need at present all over the world, more so in India, because all experts are now depicting a very grim water future for India by 2030. From 2030, India is going to enter into a very critical water scarcity condition, and which will continue for probably for next few decades until some drastic improvement happens in the water governance sector. So therefore, maximum importance is now given by government on conservation of good water sources and their protection of water bodies, including rivers, lakes, wetlands, and aquifers. Definitely, no doubt about that. Ultimately, the ultimate goal is sustainable utilization, not wasteful utilization. Then institutional structure, if needed, we already have a plethora of institutions that take care of water management. But then through water policies, you can you can probably examine the relevance of these institutions, how they are performing, and if needed, you can actually create. If you look at some of our past policies, especially the national water policies of 1987, 2002, 2012, the last water policy, you will see that through most of these policies, the drafting team or government of India have actually envisaged creation of various kind of institutions. The 2002 and 2012, they wanted to create basin level institution or basin level RBOs or river basin organizations, right? So 2002 policy wanted that all states of India should come up with their state water level policies. It didn't happen actually. So talking about institutional structure, talking about how to implement the policies that have been put in place, who will execute, how it will be executed, who will monitor, how it will be monitored, everything comes under the realm of a good water policy. So therefore, the main components of a water policy usually are one, legislative framework, because the policy, when it enunciates its principles or some kind of decision about rights, proprieties, something should be done, something should not be done, the normative decisions, they derive mostly from the Constitution of India actually. So and a policy actually is meant to be implemented. If when the government implements something, it should always be based on rules and regulation that comes from the legislative framework. So the legislative framework is the first important pillar of any policy. It should clearly, if needed, a policy should clearly actually indicate where it derives different kind of it's whatever decisions it gives, or whatever advices it gives, whatever guideline it gives. There are links to the existing legislative framework existing in the country. That institutional framework, it has to portray, definitely take stock of the existing institution, if needed, create new institutions, reform institutions, and define the functions and mandate and the way that the institution should work to provide good governance in case of water. And then a management framework with principles, ethics, norms for sustainability, equity, equal access, equal allocation, equitable distribution, conservation, protection, etc., etc. So now, with all these things put together, this is my prescription for a good management framework of water, as well as for a water policy for Assam. And this is nothing but the summation of all the of whatever I have said till now, and all the diagrams where, with smaller diagrams, with smaller parameters, I explain things how water is actually a intertwined web of almost everything that we experience in life. All development sectors come under it, all kind of governance concerns come under it. And therefore, even without going into spell out or read out all these parameters, you can see that almost everything comes under the purview of water. So water management is related to all SDGs. I will come to it. All sustainable development goals. That is now universally acknowledged that water is at the center of all sustainable development goals, right? So what for governance is very important for water. Science and technology has a lot of footprint on water now. Our agriculture, irrigation, food security is dependent on water. Flora, fauna, forest, biodiversity, ecosystem, habitats, everything is related to water. Health, nutrition, hygiene, sanitation. We have a very strong cultural and societal relationship. Sometimes it is religious, sometimes it is spiritual with water. All kinds of other natural resources are also influenced by water or influence the use of water. Climate change is a very, very powerful force that is having an impact on our water resources, both quality and quantity. And water is a direct determinant of your livelihood security. And then water-induced disasters and hazards, which are now being made more complex, more erratic, more uncertain because of climate change. And definitely, lastly, economic development. And therefore, all basic human development concerns, development, sustainable development, human, non-human organism, wildlife, society, civilization, environment, everything is taken care of. And therefore, as I said, this is the last diagram I'm showing, and this I have borrowed from the Netherlands-based publication, where you can see that how beautifully they have portrayed that water is at the center, and all 17 sustainable development goals from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, everything is related to water, correlated to water, some very, very directly, some indirectly, right? The sustainable development goal number 6 is clean water and sanitation. This is the first concern, but then everything almost. You go life, climate action, goal number 13, life on below water, goal number 14, life on land, goal number 15, right? Then sustainable cities and communities, goal number 11, right? And then industry, innovation and infrastructure, decent work and economic growth, everything. So that shows the importance of water, and therefore water management, therefore water governance, and therefore water policy. So I will now jump to in between. I'm skipping all these slides, which if I have a chance in between, discussion, I will tell you. I just wanted to give you a sense of what a policy looks like. What a policy looks like. So these will be the last 3 slides of my presentation. So till now, as I said, let us first discuss about what India's water policies have been like. The first Indian water policy was framed in 1987. If you, and the next one in 2002, the next was in 2012. So every 10 years since then, we are having one revised new water policy. So we are expecting the next water policy anytime in 2022. The draft is ready. The government is having its probably last look before releasing it to the public domain. Once it is, it comes to public domain, then government will allow us, all of us, some time to look at it, to critique it, and then provide our inputs, and finally it will be adopted after taking consideration of all the public and expert input. So that's a future phase of it. But right now, till it comes, the existing water policy is the one that was framed in 2012. And for example, just I'm giving you, sorry. Give me 1 minute. Huh? Okay, this one. Okay. I'm giving you the main structure. This is a probably 30, 40 pages long policy. I just wanted you to see, especially our youngsters, to see that what makes a policy. What is there that they write or they discuss in a policy? I suggest that you, all these policy texts are available in Government of India websites or in many other websites. So you please go back and, I would like you to read carefully all these policy documents. That will give you a lot of information, a lot of insight into how water has been managed for last 3-4 decades in this country. For example, let us have a look at the 2012 water policy. I just copied out the main heads and subheads that's there. For example, there is a preamble. Actually, there is a preamble in every policy. If you look at any policy, there is a preamble, and the preamble reads like the preamble. It's almost like the preamble that you have in our constitution. I mean, it announces the basic, the beliefs and the ethics and principles based on which different kind of, measures that the policy suggests will later on, unfold. So then in this case, they are talking about a water framework law. So this means that in 2012, at that time, government actually was, the Government of India was planning to integrate many of its existing water policies and laws into one general water framework law. And later on, it actually acted on this, and therefore in 2016, the water framework bill was produced, which unfortunately has not yet become a actor law. It's still there as a bill. So if somebody is interested, you can also find it interesting to read the India National Water Framework Bill 2016. Then it talks about different kind of uses of water. Then it talks about adaptation to climate change, which was very refreshing at that time, and we all liked it. Except 2012, for the first time, very, very prominently, climate change was brought to the policy regime, and they had written 2-3 paragraphs on how what could be the impact of climate change on water and how to adapt to water. So this was a very welcome inclusion compared to what it was in 2002. Then enhancing water available for use. So they were talking about actually how to enhance the how to increase or how to enhance the sources of water, sources of usable or replenishable water. Then demand management and water use efficiency, and then this is very well known that so far the emphasis was on supplies side management in water governance in India. So now the focus is shifted to demand management. That means that you can actually reduce, and there's a lot of wastage of water in many cases, and you can actually manage your demand, and you can actually reduce your water requirement and water footprint from many ways. Then water pricing, it's always controversial, but there's a chapter on water pricing. What kind of water needs to be priced, what kind of water needs to be provided free of cost. And then conservation of river corridors, water bodies, and infrastructure, very important for Assam. River corridors, again, at that time a new word. Project planning and implementation, management of flood and drought, very important for some states like Assam, UP, West Bengal, and entire Northeast India. Water supply and sanitation, definitely one of the most important aspects of water management. Institutional arrangement, what are the institutions that have been created by Government of India, and what new institutions could be created. Transboundary rivers, rivers like Brahmaputra, rivers like the Meghna, the Indus, these are all transboundary rivers, and there are there are certain principles and certain rules that apply to the management of water from these rivers, which are not like the ones that apply universally for all other rivers which originate within the country and also end within the country. So as far as transboundary rivers are concerned, Northeast India, Assam are very important. We have several transboundary rivers going through our state, including Brahmaputra and Barak, Brahmaputra and Barak Meghna. So database and information system, how to enrich and strengthen the database, how to generate data, and how to smoothly manage the information system, how to give access to information to people who really need it. This is still a controversial subject because we know that many of us actually do not get access to the kind of water data that we actually need for our research. So then research and training needs, implementation of national water policy, how it should be implemented, and who will implement, etc., etc. So this was more or less the structure of the existing national water policy. Now, coming to, and this is the crux of the matter, and the two invited speakers we have today, they will be basically focusing on this issue. I am just introducing here. So you may ask a question, does Assam have a water issue at this point of time? No, we do not have. So do we have? Yeah, absolutely, we should have had a long time back. It was in 2002, when the 2002 policy came, it actually wanted all the state governments to come up with their own state level policies in next 10 years. But then you see, 2002, 20 years have passed, and till now, we in Assam have not been able to draft a simple water policy. Yes, there was an attempt. There was an attempt from 2006 to 2007, but for various reasons, a draft policy was produced, but it was never accepted or adopted by Government of Assam. And therefore, in literature, you will get, which is called something called Draft State Water Policy of Assam 2007. This is what I'm showing you. This is the cover page. It was developed at the initiative of the Assam Science, Technology and Environment Council, Government of Assam institution. There was a committee formed by Government of Assam. There was a lot of debate, lot of controversy, lot of discussion. I personally was part of several discussions, and the two guests that we have, they were also part of the process from government side. But then for various reasons, unfortunately, we couldn't reach a conclusion, or we couldn't adopt a water policy at that time. And this water policy also, if you have looked at it, it had a preamble, it had a vision statement, it had an approach, it had a strategy. And finally, this is my last slide, where you will see this was the structure of our Assam water policy. I think all of you go through this one, just to know what it looked like. But if you have my word, I can swear that there were many, many good things in it, which should be taken forward in any future water policy that we may have in the future. And if you go through it, you can see that the kind of emphasis they gave on demand management. Again, it was in tune with the national water policy also. Demand management, conservation and efficiency of utilization, integrated planning for maximizing water usability, water allocation for various uses, drinking water and water for domestic use, river life, which was a very, very important chapter looking at the importance of rivers for Assam. Wetlands and waterwood is very important. Pollution of environment now has become a critical issue. Watershed areas for management, flood management and drainage, the most perennial problem. Control of erosion, there was a different section only for control of erosion. Again, good measures were suggested. Irrigation, hydropower, industry and thermal power, groundwater management, fisheries management and aquaculture, navigation, water tourism and recreation. These are not very frequently heard about issues or sectors, but now you know that how important it has become. Now the former Chief Minister of Assam, Sarbananda Sonowal, is in charge of this inland navigation. So a lot of emphasis has been given to navigation in Northeast India, especially Assam, in Brahmaputra and Barak. And water tourism is only now catching up. It's one of those very, very prosperous aspects, prosperous, livelihood and development sector. Resettlement and rehabilitation, which has remained a very critical problem. Look at the condition of all those people that have been displaced because of flood and erosion, and for many other water-related disasters. We have a very poor track record of getting good resettlement, rehabilitation. There was some good policies, measures suggested at that time. Then partnership with communities and water resources, so community-based management is very, very and participatory, so that was emphasized, very good. So water quality and quantity monitoring, financing projects and water service charges, project implementation and monitoring, safety and security, disaster management, rainwater harvesting, which has now become a very critical requirement here because of the looming drought-like situations, especially in water rain shadow areas. Then water conservation, then legislation and regulation. What kind of legislation and regulation should we have to implement this kind of a policy? Then the need for human power development, human resource development, training, research, and science and technology, water literacy, awareness, education, generation. I will tell you that almost all important aspects were taken care of, but then, inside there was something here, something not there, or there were some, debates over some very, very basic issues like, whether you should give all water related services free of cost to everybody, and or you should charge for certain surcharge for some treated water supply, supplied water, etc., for various reasons. I am also not very clear exactly for why precisely was this draft not accepted by the then government. So with this question, I conclude my presentation, and I request both Chankakati sir and Mitra sir to address my question, why was it not accepted at that time? And you are definitely deliberating on various issues related to that. And so please answer also my question. So thank you very much. I took more time than I was given, but I thought it was important to have kind of detailed deliberation on this issue. But every day you don't get such a good gathering or such a good occasion. Thank you very much. Thank you, Manisha. You can now request the invited guest.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
So maybe we can go with first of all, Dr. A.K. Mitra, sir.
Yes, Mona?
Sure. Uh,
So should I
yeah,
unshare?
maybe you may.
Unshare, no?
No, you can, I guess you can, yeah, you can unshare also.
Uh,
Uh, I'm just trying, Dr. A.K. Mitra, sir, if we can get your perspective and then we can move on to Dr. P.P. Sankar Kudi, sir.
Uh, Good evening to everybody, the distinguished participants, my colleagues, friends, and particularly the youth. You are very much aware, you are so much attached with Dr. Pathojyot Das, who is very close to me. In fact, in liberation, he has covered everything. Nothing more to be mentioned in the water policy or water governance and whatever it is. Only thing is that the question he has put, why it was not accepted by the government. Unfortunately, I was not at that time in the government, but one thing I must emphasize that the water policy which was drafted and brought out by the state government, of which I was very closely associated being a member. Uh, all of the aspects which was in the 2002 National Water Policy was covered within that ambit, and the local issues were also covered, which Partho has already given a brief on that. But fact remains that this is a draft policy which was given to the government. It is not that the government was sitting tight on that. There was some action, but at any point of time, Mr. Chenkakot was in the government at that point of time. He will be in a better position to tell what exactly happened. But government was very much inclined to have this water policy. It was appreciated in certain meetings and certain high-level discussions, but somehow or rather it lied for a pretty long time. But in 2016, 17, there was a very high-level policy meeting chaired by Chief Secretary, then Chief Secretary, wherein people from all sectors involved in the draft water policy were invited. At that point of time, it was argued that since the 2002 National Water Policy has been updated and reviewed, uh, and 2012 National Water Policy has come out, the state water policy drafted in the line of 2002 National Water Policy should also be reviewed and updated. Incidentally, that responsibility was thrusted upon me, and Mr. Jacob, at that point of time, he was secretary to the government in water resources. So he helped me, and both of us in association, we reviewed and updated the draft water policy of 2007 and submitted to the government. So to my mind, after that, there was not much progress. 5 years have lapsed, and I am not very sure where it is. Engineer Chenkakoti, he was he was a director of water mission. He may enlighten us what is the latest position. But in continuation to Dr. Das's wonderful and excellent deliberations, he is always excellent. And when water comes, so his passion is water. So he will deliberate every aspect of it, intricate details and everything. So it was wonderful. One thing I do also understand in my mind that it's a not only high time, it is highly essential and to have this water policy wherever it is to further review and further update, because so many changes have come in, so many changes. I mean, I don't want to take much of time. The changes, I mean, one change is there that we must revitalize the river system. I mean, he has spoken that we have much of water, little of water, such is the thing issue. In Northeast and particularly in Assam, we have seen the bounty of water, plenty of water, and take in terms of flood, disaster, and this thing and that thing. We have not studied it at a resource. So we must try to understand that this is a very scarce resource we are having. And we have not been able to manage it. The question of harnessing doesn't arise because water governance and integrated water resources management, these are the issues which we will have to take ahead in the future time to come. We have virtually, we are at the end of our career, carrying out like that, but we have not done much work on that core issues of water governance or water management and planning. As such, I mean, I can tell you just one issue. In 2010, I visited Australia. We were taken to Mare Darling project, So Mare Darling is an example of this integrated water resources management with cooperative federalism. States were taken into the federal government with total confidence, and that way the all-round development that came up. So what is needed, what is required, that the states will have to given that opportunity to be involved and participate in the overall governance of the water resources. And rest of the issues, Dr. Das, I would like to further emphasis on that. Any question regards state water policy anybody is having on that, so that will definitely be answered. And I now request my friend and colleague to highlight further if any issues I have not been able to cover. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. A.K. Mitra. Over to you, Dr. P.P. Sankapati, sir. We would love to listen to your perspectives on it.
Good evening, all the participants. First of all, I would like to thank Partho for organizing such a wonderful event today, and also deliberating in detail about the necessity of water governance and water policy. Almost all the aspects of water governance and water policy has been already covered by Partho, Dr. Partho. He has given a very detailed account of all the aspects of water governance, and I am really thankful to him that he has done so much of studies in this regard that we also haven't been able to do much although we claim ourselves to be, in this field for such a long time. Are you hearing? Can I get a response from
Yeah.
Mitra sir? Good evening, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, good
Yeah.
evening. Carry on, bhai.
Yeah. So far as the Assam water policy is concerned, yeah, you have given, Mitra sir has already given a background about the development and the steps taken by the government so far as Assam water policy 2012, 2016, 2017, 2009. So many stories behind the development has been told, and I think I'm here at the moment to say why the Assam water policy didn't see the light of the day. So it was in 2016, a final draft for Assam water policy came out, where Mitra sir was also one of the key person involved in drafting of this policy. And then in 2017, after the creation of the Assam Water Mission, where I happen to be appointed as the mission director. So the Executive Council of the State Assam Water Mission had its meeting on 23rd November 2017, and the final draft was placed in that meeting, and this draft was prepared under the chairmanship of A.K. Mitra sir, and it was decided that this policy would go into the public domain after the approval of the departmental minister. So the state government took the step, the secretary to the government of Assam Water Resources Department at that point of time forwarded the draft water policy, which was framed in line of the National Water Policy 2012, was finally approved by the Executive Council of the Assam Water Mission. And the file was moved to the government for approval. And then later on, we couldn't find any reason why it didn't go further. Until date, we are yet to hear about the state water policy, which was finally put for approval of the minister and was supposed to go to the public domain. So it remained the status quo. And I feel now with these young professionals in place, this Aaranyak led by Dr. Partho and other stakeholders, we should take forward and approach the government that they do something so that the water policy comes out as early as possible. And it's around now it is 2022, and most likely, as told by Partha, the national water policy is also in the final shape. Again, we have to do another exercise of redrafting the state water policy in line with the national water policy.
Yes.
So this is the status which I feel we have to carry forward so that we have a state water policy in place as early as possible. So these are the few words which I had to comment, and I thank Partho once again for giving me the opportunity to say these few words. Thank you.
So Manisha, you can open this for now discussion.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for your insights and inputs. And we are really hopeful, and thank you for giving that positive vibe that there is a lot of scope that our youths can engage in. So we will open the discussion now to take in your questions or any thoughts that you would like to share. So any of you who wants to do it, please go ahead. You can unmute yourself, and also your if you can also share your video so that we can see you when you're asking the question. Any questions to our panelists?
I have a question for Partha sir.
Yes, one.
Partha sir just showed us the State Water Policy 2007, which can be is being drafted. So where is that material available? In which particular website can we find it? If someone has to take a read at it.
A good question in a way, because I forgot to tell you that since this was not a government approved draft,
Okay.
so you won't find it in the government of Assam website.
Okay. Okay.
You'll find it in there are several websites maintained by several lawyers association, right? They keep all PDFs of all acts and laws and something like that. But just type draft Assam Water Policy 2007, it will come. There's only one place where it is available. And fortunately, it is still there.
Okay. Okay.
Your question has a significance,
Yes.
because yes, it is not available in Water Resource Department's website because officially they cannot
Publish
it because it was not accepted
Yeah.
by government. But at the same time, and I would also like to ask both Mitra sir and Sankakati sir, since beyond 2007, now we know that there was another attempt to revive the water policy in whatever form it was in 2016 and 17. And will it be possible to catch hold of that final draft, sirs? Any possibility of, so that just we can see what it was there. But as Sankakati sir has rightly pointed out, anyway, we will have to work a lot on it, because the new national policy is coming, and they will ask everything to be oriented around it. And there's a lot of radical change happening to these new policies, a lot of SNT, science and technology, application, lot of change in approach, etc. More participation of stakeholders and community, all changes have taken place in that new. So anyway, we will have to orient a lot, but even then it will be really useful for us to know what it was there in 2017. How can we have access to the draft? Or my question to both of you, sir, how to take this forward as an advocacy campaign with government of Assam? What is the next step for us, for this group?
This is a good question. I mean, pragmatic question. And I should say that is the outcome of today's wonderful discussion, because we are having about 33% of total water resources of the country. And, and we have not been able to finalize the water policy, despite very hard work was given, as Engineer Chankakati already explained. We have worked very hard. In fact, I will tell you that we worked very hard in finalizing the draft. Now, there are steps, which have to be taken. They have taken some steps, but I will request this group of Aaranyak, the Aaranyak and the Manisha's Global Shapers and all. So they very strong recommendations from today's discussion, and along with your presentation in particular, and approach the government to revive the process of state water policy. I mean, by this time it revives or it is taken out from the file or wherever it is, then in the meantime, I do hope that national water policy will be updated, will come out. And we will have to review it, then correct it, then expand it, and so many things will have to be done. And again, that hard work. But this time we will have to keep in mind that we will not go, allow this hard work to go in waste. That is the thing. Ultimately, I can say that. I hope Engineer Chankakuti, if he wants to add something on that.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I think Aaranyak should go ahead. And Dr. Partha taking the lead to move the government of Assam and rightly ask this question, then why not go ahead with the state water policy? Because when the final draft was there in place, finally prepared with the one-man expert committee of AK Mitra, that draft didn't see the light of the day. It didn't go to public domain. So we should start from that step. Okay, we should tell the government that please go ahead. In the meanwhile, we should also tell them that, yeah, now 2022 national policy is also coming on the way. And that exercise has to be done. So let's go ahead as early as possible. So the thought process should start right now. And this has to be done by a pressure group of young professionals led by mentor, Dr. Partha. So this is a suggestion which I would like to give you.
I wholeheartedly support this year of Chankakoti, and I will request Dr. Das to go ahead, and we have a full support with you. You know, particularly, I am really, very much upset when I
the
on this.
the entire efforts made by Mitra sir didn't see the light of the day. So we really feel bad about it. And when I was there at the helm of affairs, and then after that I had to come out of that system, and now we do not know what is happening. So definitely, and the young professional group, and Aaranyak being the only in the entire state of Assam taking care of water and environment.
Yes.
Yeah, they should do. And we really support, and there will be a lot of people who will join hands with you. And I think Partha should go ahead with this.
Sir, my next question is that when it comes to a water policy or any policy, for water policy, which is the nodal agency in government of Assam?
Water policy is the Water Resources Department.
That means we should talk to, or we should address to, or write to whom?
You write to the secretary to the government of Assam.
Thank you.
Water Resources Department.
That's
and that responsibility at the moment is held by a very senior bureaucrat. He is the additional chief secretary to the government of Assam in the Water Resources Department. So that's how you should do.
Thank you. Thank you. And
Extremely encouraging.
And in the meanwhile, you may also give a copy of your, representation to the Honorable Chief Minister through his additional chief secretary or principal secretary to the Chief Minister, so that it comes to the notice of the Honorable Chief Minister as well as the Honorable Minister, Water Resources.
Oh, okay. I promise we will do that as a group.
Yeah.
And unofficially, Partha,
do not know what the consequences will be, but what the outcome will be, but we will definitely do that. Tell us.
I assure you that unofficially, I should have a copy of that since it was drafted by myself and Mr. Chankakoti, but that may be lying somewhere in my Guwahati library. So next time when I will be at Guwahati, I will try to find out keeping the dust aside and give it to you, right?
So thank you very much, because we will need that draft to work on. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. This is highly encouraging. So we have a lot of questions coming from our participants. I think we'll take up one by one. Kunal, I guess you have one question. So go ahead, unmute yourself, ask the question. We'll then move on to those who have typed those questions very quickly. Kunal, yes.
Good evening to everyone, respected officials who are here, and along with Partha sir. My question is regarding integrated water resource management. But from the bottom-up approach, we have seen that what we require is to mobilize people from the ground level. But the problem that is usually noticed is that when you have a lot of water resource, like from people here as well, when there is a lot of rain, people don't want to save it. People don't have the impetus to save water or manage water. How do we mobilize those people who have a lot of water now, but are not thinking about the future, or are not thinking about the drought years which might come in the future? So how can we mobilize people in this bottom-up approach? Because I think people's participation is one of the most major things in water management. That is my question. Thank you.
So let me let me try to take it actually. I mean, as I also mentioned, you were right. This is a daunting task, daunting challenge to actually. It's a problem of mindset, because it's not only the man in a village who would ask you, hey, why are you talking about this digging these big ponds and storing rainwater? We have so much of rain. We have so much of water which is disturbing us, which is harming us, this and that. So definitely that's a reality. So when the entire state is reeling under flood, that is not the right time to go to people and talk about actually rainwater harvesting or doing something like that. So these challenges will be there. So see, even in the level of at the level of policymakers also, there are a lot of perceptual problems, because they also think that there's enough of water supply, etc. I think it's good to speak about this in presence of both our senior veteran experts. When for the first time, and again a couple of times, the whole question of linking of rivers came. I think most of you are aware of this river linking project, isn't it? So this is a huge project that was initiated almost a decade and a half back, and then it was a part. Several components were there. The Himalayan component were there. Probably it was not cancelled, or it was not actually. But it was put in the freezer, and somehow central government is going slow over it because of the daunting challenge of logistics, managing logistics, and reducing the ecological impact, etc. So the feasibility is a big problem, they realized. But that time, the important questions that were asked by experts is that how do you know that Assam is water surplus? Yeah. So it's a question of perception. Anybody in India will tell, oh, there's a lot of water in Assam. But if you look at it from integrated water resource management point of view, as I said, this is seasonal abundance. This could be misleading you to believe that there's a lot of water for all purposes for all the time. No, there's not. Unfortunately, I think both Mitra sir and Chankakri sir will bear me out that somehow we have not been able to do a very scientific and reliable water budgeting of our water resources. Somehow we have not done a kind of, water mass balance, and we have ballpoint figures. If you remember in the very first webinar, I presented some kind of figures which were borrowed from the Central Water Commissions. There's so many billion cubic meters are there in Brahmaputra and Barak, these are not. but it's keep changing actually. But we have not yet done kind of a surplus deficit analysis season wise. If we have a lot of water during the flooding season, we have very less water in the lean season. Now, when you do a typical exercise like that, you have to take care of your water needs for all sectors. Water needs for existing industries, agriculture, future industries, agriculture. So you have to have a very good idea of, what is going to happen, a kind of forecast, technology forecast for agriculture, industry, forests, etc. So it is a rigorous scientific exercise to do to find out the water requirement of all these sectors, including wildlife, ecosystem, river basin, human, drinking, into so many things, and then allocate different amounts of water. These are and then only and then do a proper water budgeting. Then only you can tell actually, and that also catchment wise. Remember, not for entire Brahmaputra, because the Brahmaputra river basin lies much outside of the territory of Assam and other things. You may not have the right kind of data also. That's a big problem. I think, Mitra sir will tell you what is the problem of having, we can't do a lot of research, which needs a lot of important data from upper catchments, even from our own catchment, even if it is data we don't have access to, without, having access to or having the right kind of data, is difficult to come to a conclusion on very important aspects like, how much of water is needed right now, after 5 years, after 10 years. So to construct different kind of future scenarios, 10-year scenario, 20-year scenario, 30-year scenario, we need very, very robust kind of, framework and model-based calculations, which is not there. And therefore, conclusively, we can't say that so much of water we have access and therefore you can take it out. That was a big challenge at that time. Even Government of India at that time, although they were promoting that project, they didn't have any definite answer to that question. This is one of the reasons why probably, there was a go slow, apart from other technical challenges. And therefore, it is related to your question actually. It's very, very difficult. I don't have any direct answer to it, but you can probably tell people that there are more and more evidences being reported, coming to the fore, that from Assam, we can see that there are drought-like situations, moderate to light to severe drought-like situations in many new places compared to what it was in probably 20 years back. So that can be partly ascribed to climate change, the erratic rainfall not happening. Take the year 2020, lot of drought situations just because they were 30 to 40% below normal rainfall in most of the catchments, right? But it can also be partly due to very unhealthy environmental changes, land use, land cover changes. So combination of reasons. So for all these areas where this is happening, might be easier to convince people that there is a need to conserve water. There is a need to conserve water. Of course, the basic water education has to continue perennially, persistently. And that you may live in Assam, you may live in Rajasthan, you may live in Gujarat, whatever it is. But water actually is a very scarce water resource. If you reduce wastage of your water, which is easily available in Assam, you are contributing towards conservation actually. So once people understand the kind of suffering that people are having just because they are not naturally endowed with so much of water, just because they are deprived of nature's blessings, and just because we are blessed with a lot of water, we are wasting. So it will take a lot of efforts to make people understand. I don't have, kind of, very concrete, answers to that. But again, then it will depend on so many things. Persistent, advocacy, persistent education, awareness. then only people will start listening. I mean, I don't have any very direct answer to that question. Yeah. Maybe Mitra sir will add something to that, you know.
Deliberation. Regarding this liver linking project, I would like to enlighten the youth. Yes, it was ultimately the team came to Assam and a very high level meeting with them, and subsequently it was decided that excess water, just popularly excess water of Brahmaputra can be taken to reduce the flood in Assam and in the deficit areas through a canal from Jogi Ghopa or something like that. But fact remains that we stood very tough on the issue. We communicated that, well, yes, we do fully agree that we do have excess water and we have flooding occasionally, but who have just the lean water availability? You know, there was an organization of Government of India known as NWDA, National Water Development Agency. So for 20 years, they have surveyed, they have assessed the water availability in the peninsular rivers, not the Himalayan rivers. So they were in a position at that point of time with the data or the document or the mapping they have prepared through rigorous survey and all those, the availability of water in peninsular rivers, which are the deficit, which are the surplus, and how to connect those through canals and all those. But when it came in our case, you were told very correctly, neither a ecological survey, not an environmental impact survey, nor the assessment of the water availability and what will be the allocation for the requirement of the water, surface water in course of time, in coming 50 years or 60 years. So these answers they couldn't give. So it was at that point of the year, the things didn't progress much. Thereafter, of course, it has gone to a very low level. I don't know, Mr. Chankakuti, after that, he has gone into one or two meetings, so he will be able to give the latest one. This I attended one or two meetings, and this was my input from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. A.K. Mitra, for this, for highlighting this very pertinent point. We have another question. I don't know if we have enough time for it, but maybe we can keep it very short. So one of our participants wants to know how much time does it take to draft this entire policy? You know, what is the process like? Like, you know, what happens first and how do you bring together different stakeholders? How are their inputs taken into consideration, especially if these are inputs that might contrast with one another?
Yeah. Anyway, you have when we have asked the question, let me give you the example. I mean, that is real example of drafting the state water policy. You know, that was a huge committee led by, you must have heard, Mr. Bhaskar Barua, IAS, very renowned bureaucrat of the country, and engineer S.N. Fukan is a very senior most technocrat in the northeastern region. They were heading us, and we were as good as 20 to 22 members taken from every sector of water use, including civil society, including NGOs, including academic institutions, everybody. And we had as many as 30 sittings spreading over 1.5 years. So that was the result of hard work. And drafting was done personally by Mr. Bhaskar Borua and S.N. Fukan, looking at the comma, semicolon, full stop, everything taking into consideration. So I have got a tremendous regards for these two old gentlemen. They are much senior to me. And we all participated and helped them in bringing out the draft. Draft was wonderful. I must appreciate.
I just want to add to that. As far as the new national water policy is concerned, there is a 13 member committee that has been working now for more than 2 years, number one. And earlier, what happened on earlier occasions, there used to be a couple of public consultations region-wise. There was one consultation in Guwahati, one in South India, one is this.
Yeah.
Not enough actually. So, and those consultations were also not conducted properly. Most of the important stakeholders either didn't get information or didn't attend. So nothing much came out of those consultations. It was just done for the sake of doing. But this time what they did, they didn't go for public consultation, they didn't come. And so they identified important stakeholders from all over India and started inviting them to speak before the committee. I was also invited, but somehow at that time there was very law and order problem, lot of law and order problem in Delhi. So my journey was cancelled. But many good people, I mean, many quality people actually appeared before the committee, and they had given their both verbal and written submission to the committee. Based on that, that was the way they got public opinion this time.
I can inform you two issues that in drafting this next updated water policy, so they have taken the Niti Aayog and the Jal Shakti Ministry together. So Niti Aayog study of the 2012 National Water Policy, they have come out with a very pertinent points which needs to be looked into and updated in the 2022 National Water Policy. So I hope that some pragmatic year will come up in 2022 upcoming this water policy. But nevertheless, which I have told you, Mr. Chankakuti has suggested that the advocacy from your side should start from now, so that the things which are shelved for last 5 years or 6 years or something that come into focus, and whoever it is, it may not be that we are in the committee required, but the work should start so that by this time 2022 is ready for adoption, we are ready. I think that should be the approach.
Yeah.
Can I come in?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, Pulen, go ahead.
Yeah. I have very small questions. First is most of the wetlands of our state is in a very bad shape. Though these wetlands have very crucial role to play in reducing the extreme weather events or climate change. A few months back, there was a newspaper reporting on the plight of the important wetland in Guwahati. So there was a problem of encroachment, there was problem of illegal allotment of land of these important wetlands. And there are various wetlands in different parts of the state. Even in case of Nagaon also, we have seen the plight of these wetlands. So how can these wetlands be revived? That is my first question. And secondly, talking about water pollution, we cannot ignore two of our important rivers. One is Bharolu and the other is Kolong. So there is some program that has been taken for the revival of the Kolong. Though I don't know what exactly is the status of that particular program right now. But what I don't know if any program in case of the Bharolu has also been taken. So if anyone of the three panelists can put some light on this. Thank you.
Okay, let me take this maybe in 2 minutes. So your first question is a little bit, it will take a lot of time. So it's probably will not be appropriate to take up this question in detail right now. In the context of water policy, what I can say is that, yeah, both in Indian water policies and the last draft also, and wetlands received the required importance. But beyond that, there are specific policies for wetlands also. For example, the 2017 wetland rules, they are the main instrument. They have been framed under the 1986 EPA Environment Protection Act, which is a strong act of Government of India, strong environmental act. So based on those rules, only most of the wetland related decisions are being taken now. But anyway, there are some gaps, of course. We are not entirely happy with those rules. We suggested many other drastic changes, which they didn't do. But anyway, since they are there, even if these rules are properly enforced, a lot of problems with wetlands can be solved, can be addressed. Unfortunately, this is not much, lack of policies or lack of, acts or legislations. But mostly the problem is lack of enforcement that we all know. To save wetlands, there are enough rules and guidelines and acts under existing legislations. Environment Protection Act, Water Conservation and Management Act, wetland rules. There are many, which if properly enforced, can go a long way in protecting and saving wetlands. So it is mostly about, enforcing those laws. And there are several departments, agencies, multiple, ministries that have to play their rules, and lack of coordination, which are very, very common issues. We all know about that, actually. So beyond this, I should not go into details now. As far as Kolong and Borolu are concerned, definitely, Kolong, on Kolong, there is an ongoing project by the present government on Kolong, which was based on recommendations given by an expert committee where I was a member and where Mitra sir was there. Both three of us were there. It was constituted during the time of Sankakoti sir also. But I also am not aware about the exact status at present, but we know that some kind of work is going on, but we don't know details about that. As far as Borolu is concerned, the earlier DPRs, etc., were finally rejected. We all know that, but some plan is there, but I don't think we have any comprehensive master plan, like, program or long-term action plan for Borolu. I'm sure that may be on the drawing board of the policymakers, but nothing is known publicly. A lot of studies have been done, scientific studies have been done, a lot of suggestions have been given to government, including our group also. But from the government side, at least for Borolu, as far as my knowledge is concerned, no comprehensive plan, long-term action plan is there. That's it.
Thank you so much, Parthoda, for this lucidly answering these very critical questions. So I think we are we have overshot time, and this happens every time we kind of take it up because it's an interesting kind of a discussion. So in the interest of everyone's time and interest, I guess we can wrap it up for today. First of all, my sincere thanks on behalf of the organizing team to Dr. Sankakoti sir and Dr. Mitra sir for being part of this session today. Thank you, Veena ji, for joining from wherever you are at this point. You have been a constant encouragement for us and a support system to our program. Today is the final workshop of our series, but this is the final workshop. We will have one final round where we would like to have an interaction with our participants what they have learned, how do they see themselves being involved, what is it that they take as part of their action, and what is the way ahead for all of us to work together. And we are going to plan this sometime early next week. We will send you an information regarding the same. If you want to know more about this program, please connect. You can connect with me or Pranab or Parthada. And it's been quite a journey. So thank you everyone who has been with us for so long. I know the steps ahead are more interesting than what we have started off with right now. And there is a lot that needs to be done. And we have Parthada with us to steer the entire work. And we are with you, Parthada. Thank you so much. And this has been really encouraging. And thanks to both of you, sir. We will reach out to you again. And we will need your support in whatever we take up as our next steps.
Thank
So
you.
take care, everyone. The third wave is here. Take care, stay safe, and we will connect back again very soon.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Partho,
very much.
Manisha,
Yes.
Engineer Chenkakuti, and all my friends.
you, sir.
You are open for any question whatsoever.
Yes.
You are most welcome. Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Thank you very
We'll
much.
take
And
one
good night.
photograph. I'm sorry, I was supposed to say this. Can everyone turn on their video if you don't mind? We need to take a photograph.
Video photo nebe ekta. Video turn kar.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
So
can see.
if everyone can turn on their videos, it would be really helpful.
Padai ache.
Jyotishwan, can you turn on your video? Hello, Professor Abhidandan. So good to meet you. All right, so I'll take a photograph in 1, 2, and anyone wants to turn on their video, please go ahead. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for joining. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night. Good night.